The Steve Dangle Podcast with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
All right, here it is. After much discussion and careful consideration, the Columbus Blue Jackets and Mike Babcock together agreed to begin the process for Mike Babcock to step down as head coach effective immediately. The club also announced associate coach Pascal Vincent will be named head coach and agreed to a 2-year deal through the 24-25 season. Difficult decision on everyone's part, but we felt necessary to ensure our focus remains on the team's upcoming season. On behalf of the entire Blue Jackets organization, we want to thank Mike for his hard work, professionalism he has shown in working together on a plan to step down. And that was Jarmo Kekalainen. There is a Mike Babcock quote in there, and he basically sort of repeats the same thing.
It doesn't even read like Mike Babcock.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't say anybody's got a good family or whatever. But Chris Johnson and Julian McKenzie put a show out last night, which was phenomenal. And I listened to it this morning on
bunch of legends
on my dog walk.
Yeah.
And, what do we know from what happened this weekend? Well, we know that Mike Babcock was at rookie camp. They brought him to rookie camp in Traverse City.
Yeah, and why not? He's the head coach of the hockey team.
There were conversations that continued this weekend with the NHLPA, Marty Walsh, Ron Hainsey, with the NHL and with the Blue Jackets. Based on conversations, by the way, that they had with people, not just within the organization, but previous players as well.
Yes.
Ultimately, the Blue Jackets and Babcock probably here, and this is where we're still a little foggy, because I don't know what the PA would have said to them. I'm sure the PA said something along the lines of, listen, we don't want to have to escalate this. Probably you should resign, or he should resign, because they probably weren't talking directly to Mike. But ultimately, the decision was made that he wouldn't be able to command the dressing room, which is something we talked about before coming up. And Pascal Vincent, who probably should have got the job this summer anyway.
He sounds like a relatively popular guy, and a guy who's been around for a while.
One thing that's come out of this is a lot of people like Pascal Vincent. Like all of a sudden, all of these people came out of the woodwork just praising this man.
We don't need to. I mean, we're very many layers of this onion away from this topic, but there's, no pun intended, scenario where the Blue Jackets could be shot out of a cannon because they go from Babcock to this.
They might be good this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I go that far, but
good by the standards by which we're judging the Blue Jackets being good.
They'll take a step forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that they are actually better than people give them credit for. It. You look at their lineup, I'm like, listen, it's not perfect, but it's certainly, it's got some significant talent there.
Well, I was sort of looking at it like, well, they got this guy who's a top 10 pick. Oh, and this guy. Oh, and this guy. Oh, and you know. You
and Fantilli and Juracek joining that lineup with Provorov, healthy Rowinski. Remember how injured they were too? Like they lost everybody. Yeah.
They had Line playing center. Like it was.
Yeah, it's a joke.
They had no shot.
From Elliot Friedman's quick post for Sportsnet last night, according to multiple sources, one of the more serious concerns was a meeting that occurred away from team facilities that included, quote, several minutes of looking through a phone. That was beyond the scope of what was initially understood to have occurred.
Yeah, that's weird, man.
NHLPA Executive Director Marty Walsh and Assistant Director Ron Hainsey flew to Columbus to meet with the Blue Jackets players on Thursday. Lengthy meeting described as, quote, intense. The situation was added to the agenda of the regularly scheduled NHL and PA meeting on Friday. So this kind of lined up perfectly for them. Some of Babcock's former players in Toronto were also contacted as a part of the organization. Of the investigation.
Gee, I wonder who.
Now, Greg Wyshynski, something I've heard from multiple NHL sources today regarding Babcock and the Blue Jackets. You knew who you were hiring. If you can't stand up for him during something like this, why hire him in the first place?
He's absolutely right.
Well, Ian Mendes, and we'll talk about Ian Mendes' article in a little bit. He said, it's either, depending upon who you ask, it's either completely normal or super creepy, and the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. It's weird.
Is it a fireable indiscretion?
I mean, listen, if I remember when I asked Maddie to see her phone the other day?
Yeah.
And how fucking weird that felt?
That was fucking strange. It was fucking strange. But is it the sort of thing that gets you fired or reprimanded?
Aha.
Or at very least talk to like, hey man. Mm-hmm. And like, cause like people make mistakes and like sometimes people realize also they go, that was fucking
You're talking about like if this happened as a one-off, like
this was Bruce Boudreau.
If he just did this and he's not a guy who has Mike Babcock's track record of doing this.
So that's an interesting name to bring up, Adam. Bruce Boudreau.
Everybody loves Bruce.
So yes, and if you found out Bruce Boudreau did this, what would your reaction be?
It would change my opinion of Bruce Boudreau. I'd be like, what's he doing?
But you'd also be like, oh, that's so out of character.
Yes.
From what I expect.
Yes.
Would you expect him to be fired immediately?
No. I'd be like, Bruce, I would assume it was because he was older and that he doesn't know. Like, when some people, you hand them your phone to look at a picture and they start swiping. You're like, no, you can't do that. No. You usually have to teach the older generation not to do that.
That's fair. It doesn't take several minutes for that realization to happen.
But the difference is family is not your boss.
Well, that too. Also, so for Bruce Boudreau, you'd be like, oh, that's so out of character, and you'd be disappointed, but you'd maybe be more willing to forgive.
Sure.
And maybe have more faith that he would learn.
And probably he would come out and go, I really made a mistake, and I didn't even know what I was doing, and I'm sorry.
Yes. Babcock comes out and does it. First of all, if you were just told a coach in the league did this, you have 3 guesses. There's no way you're not using one of your 3 guesses on Babs.
Yeah.
You're guessing, and the moment you find out you're right, you go, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this isn't about... A lot of people are being either just willfully ignorant or just, intentionally stupid. Being like, oh, this is the sort of thing that gets you fired nowadays. We're so soft. You're just... not paying attention
Never
to the
heard
details.
of the straw that breaks the camel's back, right?
I mean,
Camels have really strong backs, but at a certain point, you load them up enough, a straw can break it.
And like this comes out in February.
Mm-hmm.
Even then we might be like, Mike, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even get to camp, and players are complaining.
Yes.
Right. I think I was wondering where you're going with that. And I think a lot of that reaction of people being like, oh, I can't believe he got fired for that stuff. I don't think they know the full story. I
don't think we know.
If those people are just reacting like that on Twitter or whatever, I don't think they understand what's all gone on here. I think that's the kind of just the anti-reaction that people always have to any story. Any story you're going to find both sides. So I don't take too much credence on anybody who's on any side of any story, because that's where you're going to get on the internet. People just being on the opposite side so that they can get attention.
Well, and I think there are people that have, this is a story, by the way, and we'll get into it about confirmation bias, but we're talking about if, those people in your life that are like, everybody's soft, it used to be, blah, blah. Anybody who feels that way is going to find that in every situation.
Yes, and every single news story that's tweeted out by the New York Times, you'll find them underneath it.
Right?
It really is a tale as old as time.
It is, and it's literally a factor of getting older and the world changes and sort of leaves you behind, which is part of life.
Is it me? No,
it
is the children who are wrong.
Exactly. Now, in his article, Wyshynski writes this, and I'm going to jump from article to article to article here, and then we're going to break down a press conference, and it's a relevant press conference. Wyshynski writes this: Babcock is done as an NHL coach, full stop. No media interviews to cleanse his reputation, no vows from new employers about how he has changed. None of it could wash away the toxicity of parting ways with the team before training camp even starts.
Yeah, man. That's this one won't wash off.
What's Mike Babcock's last game as an NHL head coach?
That's against that would be the Leafs, 2019 in November or December.
November against Vegas.
Is that it?
Oh yeah, it was Marc-Andre Fleury ending his career.
There you go.
Marc-Andre Fleury robbing who?
Nick Patan.
Who
hoisted by his own Patan.
Hey! That was very good.
Thank you.
Do you remember the Leaf who was skating behind the net and put his hands on his head?
I remember the picture. I can't remember who.
Ilya Mikheyev. And I don't know. I just think it's funny.
You know what? An Alan Walsh client ended Mike Babcock's tenure in the NHL.
Oh yeah.
Oh, Marc-Andre Fleury.
I was Alan about that. We're doing a show this week. So.
I was like, Ilya Mikheyev?
No, not
I don't
Ilya.
think so.
No, we are Gold Star.
Yeah, no, he is of all the Dan Milstein clients,
he's the most.
He might be the most. He might be the most.
He might be the most Gold Star.
Oh my gosh. We are Platinum Star. That's him.
And for those who don't remember, this is what the save that Marc-Andre Fleury made looked like. Mikheyev, who is the Leaf you can see there, will be putting his hands on his head later on in the clip. but we can't play the clip.
Marc-Andre, it is a November regular season game. Look at this.
He won the Vezina that year, and Vegas is like, yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, well, that's Vegas.
And then won. After very not winning.
Yeah,
but, you know.
Took them
for anybody listening, describe the save.
Okay, Marc-Andre Fleury is he's barely on his left knee. He's basically levitating, and he has, for lack of a better term, yeeted his entire body in a left way. I can't believe that fucking bullshit. So Petan whacked this floater of a backhand, allowing Fleury the time to pull this off, but he tracks the puck, extends his left arm, like lats, ribs, everything, uses the entire left side of his body to glove this thing out of the air in a complete yawning cage. Like, this is a save of the year save.
Should be on a hockey card.
Who's the guy who tweets, why was he so far out of position?
If you're a goaltender, fucking rob Nick Petan.
Yeah, and nobody.
Why aren't you in your net, Fleur?
Nobody's gonna get on you about tending the goal if you make the save, right?
Yeah,
So,
you know what's? I have no idea what the lead up to this is. I have no idea why he's so out of position. He's not even like that out of position.
because it's a Petan floater. It's not even a hard shot.
No, but because Fleury's out of position, he's probably thinking, okay, I got a yawning cage, just whack it.
Right.
But it wasn't. Oh my God.
So
absolutely incredible.
To the next article here with from Aaron Portsline, who had just a fire-breathing article. I love this. Okay, you ready?
One of the more underrated scribes in the biz.
100%. Burning question. Did the Blue Jackets know the extent of Babcock's interactions with players when this was first revealed? If they did know the extent and tried to bury it before it gets started, that says not great things about the club's decision makers, from President of Hockey Ops John Davidson to General Manager Jarmo Kekalainen and others. Mm-hmm. But if they didn't know the extension of Babcock's invasion of privacy, that says something that should truly concern the Blue Jackets all the way up to ownership. That would suggest that the Blue Jacket players, veterans or young players, feel more comfortable speaking their truth to Bissonnette and the NHLPA than they are to the people in charge of the Blue Jackets organization.
I think we can confirm that.
Yeah. If that's the case, the McConnell family, hands off as any ownership group in pro sports, might need to demand answers.
Mm-hmm. I think it's called being a hockey player. I think they trust their brethren as hockey players more than upper management.
Well, and if you're the Blue Jackets, it's funny. It's this weird little monkey wrench kind of thrown into the equation, because who's next? Like, who's going to be the next person to come forward, tell Chicklets or potentially some other show a story? Because people have not been shy about this with Babcock. With Babcock, he's had such a long resume as an NHL head coach. What is it, 2003?
I think so, yeah.
This guy's been a head coach in the league, just head coach, for 2 decades. Or paid as one. For 2 decades. Lord knows how many stories there are that are untold. Like, I know some of them. Like,
what you're hearing is just what we're able to confirm.
Exactly. Like, one of the things Wyshynski said was like, man, I cannot believe like all these people with an axe to grind. And again, there are plenty of coaches who have pissed off players over the years. None of them rubbed players the wrong way like this guy. Mm-hmm. The only guy who I think comes close is Mike Keenan, and that's it. They're in a very unique class of coach. The rest of them weren't coaches for long enough to get a list of players this long.
Yeah, they would be considered in the reviled category.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, I'm never letting this guy coach my team. He's not even going to be near my AHL team. And they end up, I don't know, opening up some hockey school.
Yeah, even with a guy like John Tortorella, we talked about it last time, where he's hard on the players, he's hard on the media. His personality seems to rub people the wrong way, but people like him.
Yeah,
people still, and not even they respect him, which is even more important, I find. You know, they respect his coaching tactics and what he does, and he keeps getting hired and he keeps being successful in different places.
Randy Carlyle rubbed a lot of players the wrong way. And, he had there are some stories out there that are not the greatest, but I've never heard anyone come out and say, bad guy. This guy made my life hell.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's just, oh, no, we didn't get along.
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. Tortorella will go on TNT and have that Zegras take, but it doesn't, nobody attacks his character for his old school ways about thinking about hockey.
He's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, he might be like, well, that's old and boring.
Yeah.
Like, this is what a old and boring take.
But you're still, nobody's destroying you as a person.
Yeah, but Trevor Zegras gets to continue to have a career after he has that take.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Whereas,
and continues being Trevor Zegras.
I mean, the other thing with this Babcock thing is it's not just an indiscretion. It's one that follows his pattern.
It's a litany.
Yeah.
It's a resume. It's a rap sheet. Whatever you want to call it.
Rap sheet, whatever pattern is he targets two groups of players. Rookies and veterans at the very end of their career.
Why?
Because those are the guys with the least amount of agency, the least amount of power.
That's right. And the reason he's good to the guys that are at the top of their game is because...
Well, there's prize ponies.
That's right. If they don't perform, he doesn't perform.
And the Blue Jackets don't really have any vets at the end of their career. Not really.
Not really.
No, they have some guys who are on the back nine, some guys who, I don't know if they're going to make it out of this contract, but, they're there. They're there.
Isn't it funny that the rumor comes from somebody who was supposed to... The rumor is it was somebody who was young.
It's no surprise. Good for the young players.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
No kidding.
You've heard the one thing that rubbed me the wrong way in the way this has been talked about is, it's not going to fly with this younger generation. I mean, this younger generation.
What, abuse? Maybe they're just educated on what crossing the line is.
Listen, abuse happens. It has happened.
It will continue.
It is happening. Will continue.
And by the way, anybody who says that I'm categorizing this as abuse, I'm not necessarily, but I do know that Chris Chelios' eyewitness account said that Johan Franzen was abused, verbally assaulted, were the words he used. I mean, on the Red Wings bench. I don't know what else there is to say.
Abuse of power, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah,
but they know it won't stop. So I got to do something now. Right? Because it starts with your phone. It's almost like, I don't know, you ever watch any prison show? It starts with, hey, you got to bring me a brownie. And it never ends there. You know what I mean? It never, the high school bully, whatever you want to call it. Hey, you got to do this. And then the next day it's this. And then the next day it's this. Right? So why not nip it in the bud now?
Yeah. Yep.
It's probably a player who had the wherewithal to be like, I should maybe ask someone a little older about this, whether it's a parent or an agent.
Hopefully it was
or
a
a veteran player.
Agent. Yeah.
And they were like, no, you need to talk about this immediately.
Portsy then goes on in his article to say this. This is another in a long line of embarrassing moments by the Blue Jackets throughout the years. There's the phallic-shaped mascot Boomer, who was shelved in 2010 after only one game. By the way, I pulled up a picture of Boomer. Jesse, I'm going to send it over to you. Boomer does look like a dick. There's just no way about Jesse, I got it. I just sent you. Yeah, there's Boomer.
Boomer.
Okay, Boomer.
He was a cannon. He was a cannon for anybody listening. He was a large standing cannon with two wheels on the side.
We have it on screen? We have it on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did they give... the mustache makes sense because that's the, smoke from the cannon.
Well, yeah, and also the Civil War thing and all that, yeah.
I never even thought of that. I just thought it looked like John Davidson.
Oh, look at them. All right.
It does, right?
A little bit.
It's got his mustache.
A little bit, yeah.
Boomer had a good run.
Boomer had one game.
Which is one more than Babcock got, by the way.
That's true. Despite all of this, and this is from Portsy, despite all of this, the Blue Jackets, who have only made it past the first round in the playoffs once,
1.5.
Have a loyal and passionate fan base that deserve better. And that is true.
Yes.
Now I want to recap what we know, okay? Some of the other stuff that kind of is ancillary. What do we know? We know Mike Babcock had a 2-year deal. And that was mentioned in his introductory press conference. We know now Pascal Vincent has a 2-year deal. We know that Jarmo Kekalainen has 2 years left on his deal. We don't know about Blue Jackets president John Davidson. He did not put his name on the press release defending Babcock, which is interesting a week ago.
He didn't put his name on shit.
And there's a lot of people asking today why Jarmo has a job. And I get why, because I was the one on this show and we all talked about it, but it was like, I did say last week, hey, this is on Jarmo more than it's on Babs. Babs is just being Babs. You know, what's that old Chris Rock joke? Like, oh, everybody's mad at the Tiger. It said the Tiger went crazy on the Tiger trainer. The Tiger wasn't crazy. The Tiger was being a Tiger.
That's Cat Williams.
Is that Cat Williams?
Yeah.
No, I think that's Chris Rock.
No, it's Cat Williams.
Okay, I'm
100%.
gonna put $100.
Yeah.
$100 is Chris Rock.
Okay.
All right. John Davidson, by the way, is signed through the 2024-2025 season.
Well, so then they're
that's
all
2.
So they're all on 2-year deals.
Okay.
All of them. Now, you're probably asking yourself, oh, why does Jarmo have a job after this, making this higher? Well, that's because the Blue Jackets don't want to pay 4 guys to do 2 roles. They're going to have to pay Babcock. Babcock will get his full contract.
Are you sure?
Yes. He is stepping down, which means he was not fired, which means that Mike Babcock will be paid out the 2 years. Whether it's all at once or over the course of the next 2 years, Mike Babcock will get his contract. It's a guaranteed contract. He was not fired for probable or for cause. If you're fired for cause, then you can get out of it. But they're not firing him for cause. They're asking him to step down, and they're asking somebody else to step up.
So you're going to pay him $8 million.
So they're going to pay him. Is it $8 million? Is it $4 million a year?
4 times 2.
Yeah, okay. So they're going to pay him, and they don't want to pay the guy they'd have to replace Kekalainen with. They don't want to pay him as well because they're going to pay Paul Vincent and Mike Babcock to coach and not coach the Columbus Blue Jackets. They don't want to pay Jarmo and somebody else to GM and not GM the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's what kind of a mess this is. And part of the mantra when the Jackets hired Mike Babcock was they stressed process. They'd gone through the process. They intimated that he had grown. And I, this morning, after listening to the CJ show on my dog walk, thought, you know what? I want to go back to that press conference.
Okay.
And it's funny, when you look at things in hindsight, they always seem so clear. But it starts about 6 minutes and 30 seconds in. Jesse, I'm going to send you each clip, and I'll tell you when to stop. So you'll stop this clip when I send it to you at 6 minutes and 30 seconds. But it's Jarmo Kekalainen's introduction before you even see Mike Babcock or John Davidson on camera. This is all done over Zoom. And it's, by the way, publicly available on the Columbus Blue Jackets YouTube page. You can look it up just like I did.
Still?
Oh, yeah, it's still there.
Maybe not by the end of the day.
Yeah, so go ahead and press play on this one until 6:30.
This was a lengthy process. We wanted to do our due diligence and wanted to do our work to make sure that we get the best coach available for our team. Even though I've known Mike on a personal level since the late 90s when he was coaching in the Western Hockey League in Spokane Chiefs, and he made a big impression on me when I was at a game in Kelowna, and he drove 3 hours from Kamloops to scout the next opponent and drove back after that to coach the team the next night in Kamloops. And I thought that, well, that guy has passion for coaching and wants to work hard, and got to know him better as his career went on and mine went on. And we've, I lived in Michigan when he was coaching the Red Wings, and I was always impressed the way they played, not just because of the talent, but the compete level and the passion that the team had and the team toughness that they had. Watching his accomplishments with the international level and winning World Championship, World Cup, and the Olympics. I was with Team Finland and
All right,
got to know him on a personal level even better during some of those events. And
what did you gather from that introduction? And now you're not going to get everything from each clip. I just want to know what do you guys pull from that?
He rattled off a long list of accomplishments, and none of them had anything to do with the Leafs. I'm very sad about it.
There's that.
It's true. He talked a lot about passion and how hardworking of a coach he is, and I don't think anyone's ever knocked that about him.
No.
Yeah.
It speaks to the admiration I think Jarmo Kekalainen has for Mike, and the admiration that he wants to convey to not the media, but the fans. Because the fans, having been one, my whole life, the fans want to believe it.
Well,
they want to believe that they're getting a fantastic coach, as we did in Toronto when he came here.
I think it's actually kind of brilliant the way he framed it. Like it's not the way it was framed in Toronto, where it's we got Mike Babcock, like we got the number one guy available, and we're pulling a Brinks truck up to his house. And forget number one guy available, as he framed it. This is the number one guy. When he was hired, it was him and Quenneville, basically, in terms of guys who were in the NHL. This is the gold medal winning, Stanley Cup winning guy. For this, he starts off with a humble beginning in Spokane, which I thought was clever and intentional.
Interesting. Jesse, this next clip should cue properly. We're talking, and it's interesting, and it's a short one. It's about 15 seconds long. And you could stop it when it hits 7 minutes and 5 seconds, starts at 6:49. Talks about the Blue Jackets organizational values.
Some strong values that are never compromised, and they're non-negotiable. And that applies to myself and everybody sitting at this table. And we look forward to working with Mike.
Stop there. They have values that are non-negotiable.
Non-negotiable.
So that, to me, is the acknowledgement of Toronto. And maybe a little Detroit. Hey, we've got values here. He's going to have to fit those values. They're non-negotiable. And the reason we're making this hire is because he's non-negotiable. He's agreed to fit in with those.
Maybe a subtle way of saying there's a leash?
Maybe. Now, he did say he didn't say what those values were, but it's good to know they value something. I think that's important.
Specifics are kind of important, eh? That's a tough one.
Now, a lot of people have talked about, his time in Toronto, specifically the Mitch Marner story. And basically a reporter asked him here, do you feel like you can change?
Ooh.
For myself.
Here we go.
And based on how things ended in Toronto, can you change? Do you feel like you need to change some of your coaching tactics? Has the game changed, and have you changed to make it work?
Well, I think it's real important for all of us as people. We got to change every year. We got to grow. I always say the off season was a chance to reinvent yourself. But what's happened to me over the last 3.5 years, it's been a thrill to be around my family so much. But I got a couple of real good opportunities. I got to work at the University of Vermont. I got to work at the University of Saskatchewan. And in doing that, I got to coach young kids. And what you find is you find the joy. I started at Red Deer College. You find the joy in it, and you find what worked for you. When I first started coaching, I didn't know anything about coaching, but I knew if you played hard and you had fun, you'd have a lot of success.
Okay, we can stop
so
there.
My experience at the...
So, again, the person said, based on how things ended in Toronto, do you feel like you can change?
I think he would have answered that the exact same way 5 years ago.
He pivots it to, well, I got to hang out with my family. And I got to go back, and so it's like it doesn't really, it's not, do people have to change? It's not, do people grow as the years go on? It's, do you feel like you need to change? Do you feel like the way that it ended, the context by which it's ended, do you acknowledge that you can no longer coach that way?
Well, we all need to change.
Right.
This dude says family more than Dominic Toretto. It's wild.
Oh, man. Now, later on, Aaron Portzline does ask him, and I'll skip this clip. He said, talking about coaching, you can't coach players the same way you did 10 to 15 years ago. And again, Babs kind of sidesteps the question, does not articulate how those changes will be in. But I think when we talk about due diligence on hiring, one of the things Jarmo Kekalainen talks about is his due diligence in this press conference. And I think this is a really important one because this has to do with Jarmo, and I'm expanding this to John Davidson as well because he signed off on it. He's just as responsible, although he has very, very clearly tried to sidestep any sort of heat about this.
Oh my God.
And deserves all the same heat that Jarmo's getting, by the way. So let's have a listen to what due diligence did he do in hiring Mike?
Hi, Mike. It's actually for Jarmo and JD. Jarmo, you mentioned due diligence. Talking to people around the NHL and hockey, what questions did you want answered about Mike?
Well, I have a big network. I've been doing this for a long time, and I talk to people that I know that are not only Hall of Fame hockey people, but Hall of Fame people with character. And that type of conversations are really important to me. They're trustworthy people that I have a really good and long relationship with. And all of the feedback from those people that had worked with Mike for years, a lot closer than I got to know him, were positive.
Oh, now pause there for a second. We will come back to this clip. Okay. So all the feedback he got from the people that he asked was positive. This is, to
Hall
quote
of Fame
Wyshynski.
were the people.
Remember Greg Wyshynski said last week, guys?
Mhm.
He said, hey, I've never seen a person in hockey that more people don't like.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people that Jarmo asked, all the people he asked, unanimously positive. So the question becomes, who did he ask? And we're going to find that out.
Oh, does he name names?
Well, they all do. Here we go.
Oh, that's tough.
On the everybody says Mike's a great coach, but more importantly, said that Mike's a real good person, and that was basically unanimous from everybody that I trust that I spoke with.
I think from my point of view, and Jarmo talked about the network. We've both been around I've been around longer, and you talk to people, you get to understand people, and you get to trust people. And there's a recent coach who at one time was a coach here who recently went into the Hockey Hall of Fame. And
Who's that?
Keep going. Who do you think it is? Who do you think it is? You're going to love this answer.
Recently went into the Hockey Hall of Fame. He was a coach in Columbus.
Going to love this answer.
I can't think of who.
Wild Stab in the Dark, also known as a curmudgeon coach. He is a Stanley Cup winner.
It's not
He is a Hall of Fame.
Torts.
Yeah,
No,
Torts is not.
not Torts.
No.
Older than Torts.
And he was a coach in Columbus?
Yeah, for a minute.
There's no way it's Johnston? Or
Not Johnson. No. Bigger name. Big name. Hall of
Scotty
Fame.
Bowman.
Not Scotty Bowman. No.
Joel Quenneville.
Not Joel Quenneville. I mean, if they did,
Those are the two
if
guys
they did
there.
ask Joel Quenneville, they're not admitting that.
Who was there?
I don't know. Is
you
he
guys
going to
ready?
name him? Yeah.
Let him take it.
conversation with Ken Hitchcock.
Oh, Ken Hitchcock. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What the
So-
So he named Josh.
Dude.
So Ken Hitchcock says Mike Babcock's a good person.
That's right. Now that's person one.
I
that
mean,
says-
yeah. Like, this is so when Jarmo goes, I asked like Hall of Fame worthy people. I'm like, immediately you've done it wrong. Immediately you've done it wrong.
Why is that,
Those
Steve?
are not the people Babcock has pissed off and wronged over the years.
Who's he pissed off and wronged against, Steve?
The
rookies.
the rookies and the veterans at the end of their career.
They're
the
on their way
people-
in or they're on their way out.
If you have the least on ice value on the team, he doesn't give a fuck about you, man. Modano, Commodore, Chelios, Spezza, Jason York,
Franzen.
Johan Franzen, Marner, for an example, with the rookies. This dude sucks to people who are at the tail end of their career. And by the way, most of the names I just mentioned are Hall of Fame worthy people.
Yeah.
You could have asked those Hall of Fame worthy people.
Now listen, Ken Hitchcock was not the only person they asked and who is named. Keep going.
Ken
please,
Hitchcock,
Jeff.
Ken Hitchcock and Mike Babcock were tied at the hip with the Hockey Canada program for like over a decade. I'm going to ask him. I wonder what he's going to say. I wonder if he's going to like him. Fuck off.
Do you see where? Hold on. Do you see where I'm taking you?
Yes.
Do you understand where we're going?
Yeah.
Keep going, Jess.
One guy to hire. I said, who are you thinking? He says, Mike Babcock. I said, oh, really? And we had a real good long discussion. I know Mike's close with Dave King. He used to coach here. And these are quality people, real quality people. And the more you dig in and do your research, and it's important to dig in and do your research. This is a very, very important hire for us as an organization, as from our ownership group, the city itself. For us, this means something. And it got more and more positive as we worked along. Jarmo stated he talked to a lot of Hall of Fame players, and he did, because we talked about it at length. This, we believe, is a very good hire. The resume sits right there and stares at you. We've hired a a great coach. We're a hell of a lot healthier than what we were.
All right,
at
pause
the end
it
of the
there, because
season.
then he goes and makes excuses for being shitty last year.
So one thing that was briefly mentioned earlier in one of the earlier clips was where Mike Babcock was before this, and he was coaching in university, went back to go coach there. And if they really wanted to do their due diligence, they should have talked to the people at the University of Saskatchewan, and not like the upper management people, but the players there and the staff there, because
No,
I've heard like last year of when he was back in the news that he ran up the budgets there for his new coaching staff, and that the players there didn't like him.
yeah, Jay Rosehill recently said that he had a source there with the University of
I've
Saskatchewan.
had a few DMs about that too.
Yep. Like I've
People who
heard
are
it
from there.
multiple times, people within that university, that they hated his tenure there, and he was a menace.
I haven't brought this one.
They didn't call them.
No, they
But
didn't.
you understand? This is the point I'm trying to make here. And I'm trying to make it through their vocal cords, which is they didn't call anybody who might tell them no. They didn't call a single person who wouldn't have confirmed their bias, which is we're hiring Mike Babcock.
They were always going to hire him.
They were always going to hire him. Why even make the phone call?
Did I nail it or did I nail it? They were like, you know what? We would never have an opportunity to sign a coach with this kind of resume unless they were coming out of a bad firing. They've done it twice.
Mm-hmm.
John Tortorella, who is not the kind of guy Mike Babcock is, but he was coming out of a bad firing.
Yep.
There was
the Vancouver Canuck year was terrible.
It was terrible, and it made Tortorella look terrible, and he tried to fight the Flames himself.
Complete mismatch, having the Sedins just dropping down, blocking pucks, missing the
and the Eddie
Luongo.
Roberto Luongo stuff.
Yeah.
It made him look terrible. He went to Columbus, completely rehabbed his image, and they said, we're going to be able to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be able to do it again.
So, Jesse, I just sent you another clip. This is about 5 minutes later in the press conference.
While you're pulling that clip up, I haven't busted this one out for a long time. If you want to work in hockey, please take steps towards doing it. The sport needs you so bad, and it's so obvious the complete lack of anything these guys do. I'm sure they do a lot of micro stuff throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of saying due diligence in this press conference, knowing what we know now, is an insult. You didn't speak to anybody who mattered.
Or anybody that would disagree with you. This is the problem. And so about 5 minutes later, this is a question from a reporter named Brian Hedger. He says, any of the coaches that you used to coach with, that you're friends with, did you call them about Columbus? Right? This is probably a local guy going did you call them about what it's like to coach here? And I want you to listen to what Mike Babcock says to that.
Opportunity, they got to do the work though.
Go to Brian Hedger in the middle.
I'm gonna flip the one question over back on you. Did you? Oh yeah, I'm sure you have an extensive network of coaching in the coaching fraternity. Did you call previous coaches who had coached here with the Blue Jackets? You talked to Hitch. Did you talk to some other guys about, hey, what's it like being in Columbus?
Well, I didn't call them. They called me,
Pause.
in a hurry.
Called me in a hurry. So the Blue Jackets didn't talk to those guys about hiring Mike Babcock. The Blue Jackets sent feelers through those guys to ask Mike Babcock if he'd consider coaching in Columbus.
That's what you think?
That's what happened. When you do reference checks on people, you interview them first. He said they called me in a hurry.
Yeah, but we don't know if they called him before or after.
Okay,
Columbus spoke to him.
Fair enough. Keep going with the clip because it is relevant.
Dave King coached here right at the start. I said to you guys, I was working in Cincy for the Mighty Ducks in Detroit, and I'd come up here every Tuesday, or maybe it was a Wednesday, I can't remember, but I'd come up here, come to the game. When you're working in the American League, I used to walk in here and go into the scout room or whatever, and you know how good the meal is here? It was unbelievable. When you're in the American League, that was a home run thing. But I used to come up here, I'd meet with Kinger, you get to know some of the people, and then you meet NHL people, you be around a good rink. So I had a chance to talk to Kinger about it, and about how special the town was. I had a chance to talk to Hitch. I got a place out by Hitch there. And so I get to talk to him a lot. And we've worked together a number of times on national teams, and he couldn't say enough good things about the city. The city's fantastic. And the other thing he talked about was the fans and what a great place it is. And that the fans love their hockey team here and they love hockey. So, they couldn't say enough good things about it.
If I could interject.
Okay, now why is that important?
Well, because him talking about how good the meals are in Columbus disparages how good he said the sausages were at TFC games.
There you go. That's right. I forgot about that.
He follows a pattern with everything, eh?
Family, food,
Yeah.
down home, sort of. It's his charm. It's his ingratiation.
There are some people who I think are not feeling the best
Mhm.
right now, and I think that's Blue Jackets fans. And there were some Blue Jackets fans, and I'm not here to judge you, who, as soon as the statement came out, were like, well, that's good enough. That's good enough for me. That's a guy who has done this 1,000 times, like in terms of the, beginning of the season or whatever press conference, and he knows how to get you on his side.
Yeah.
I could see how you'd be like, you know what? And also it's his last job was in Toronto, and people in Toronto didn't like, fuck those guys. But they don't like anybody.
They're fucking Leaf fans. They don't like anybody.
Yeah, they're Leaf fans. They don't like anybody. They don't know what it's like to compete for a Stanley Cup. They fucking stay. Like, listen, I don't fault you for maybe being sucked in by his bullshit.
We all were.
Oh, absolutely.
We had no idea about any of the
Absolutely.
stuff.
Well, and Red Wings fans were the ones who, when the Leafs got Babcock, they were like, yes, he won a cup here. He hasn't really done a whole hell of a lot since, and there's a lot of people who don't like him. And when we went la 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 la, we just pretended. Nope. You guys are just sour. You're on your way down, and now here we are in the fraternity of, oh shit, that sucked.
So what we know though, is that the Blue Jackets talked to Dave King and Ken Hitchcock. Those are the names that keep coming up.
They also spoke to Ken Hitchcock and Dave King.
That's true. Kinger and Hitch.
Holy fuck.
This is what we call confirmation bias, folks. They wanted Mike, so they called his friends and they said, hey, is this guy cool? He's cool, right?
You should have called Mike. Commodore, that is.
And here's the other thing. Rick Nash was asked, because he's working his way up the Columbus Blue Jackets ladder, and he's a legend there. And he gave 2 thumbs up, based solely on his time with the national team.
Dude.
And again,
it's not the same.
Clearly the process was flawed. They asked a Hall of Fame player and they asked people that had already knew Mike and liked Mike to confirm their decision. So we know that. So what you should gather from that is when they tell you, and this is what I started with, Yarmo starts with, we did our due diligence. They did not do their due diligence. Due diligence is finding out the good and the bad and going, can we manage? Do we want the skill set, and can we manage the bad that comes with it? Now, everybody sitting here today, everybody that works at this company, everybody that's in your family, works at your companies, whatever it is, everybody's got strengths. Everybody's got weaknesses, do they not?
Everybody's got strengths.
Right.
Everybody's got weaknesses.
One of my weaknesses, not great at showing up on time, but you guys put up with me anyway.
You're not even the weakest in the show when it comes to that.
Jesse puts up with
it's
both
Jesse.
of us. Yeah, Jesse who's here on time every time. Because they did not do their due diligence.
Love you, buddy.
And they could not get a real handle on Mike Babcock's weaknesses. And when his weaknesses were spotlighted 2 months later, they could not handle it because they were not prepared to handle his weaknesses because they didn't do their due diligence. And now we have this mess. Now, a lot of people are like, Yarmo's got to go. I would agree with you, but they're not going to pay 2 guys to be general manager this year and 2 guys to be head coach. I think this goes further than that. I think you've got Aaron Portzline saying, and I think you rightly said, listen, Blue Jackets players felt more comfortable reaching out to Paul Bissonnette, and then later on when the PA reached out. I'm not going to give the PA too much credit here. I don't think they have a ton of trust. I think this has done a lot to help them. But the original reach out was to Paul Bissonnette. That's who found it first. Mm-hmm. So they'd rather go to Bissonnette over the NHLPA and the Blue Jackets organization. And if you're a Blue Jackets player and this happens to you, why do you not want to run it up the chain?
I think that might be part of the reason the NHLPA took such an aggressive role with this, by the way,
because they're trying to establish trust.
Well,
but I want to jump back on this point in a second.
It's great that they feel comfortable, but like, Jesus, they need to come to us, not Biz.
Yeah.
And that's no disrespect, but like this is what the NHLPA is for, and we have said for years that they're fucking useless because they are.
I think you guys should start writing your apologies
To Marty Walsh?
to Marty Walsh.
He did a great job.
I sat next to two guys who were like, no, Marty Walsh can't do this job because he likes Gary Bettman. And now look, he did a great job in his first big run as NHLPA head.
100%. Nope. 100%.
Apologize.
We'll see how the next lockout goes.
Kiss it.
Kiss it. Just kiss it.
Apologize.
Apologize.
The other thing is that we have this mess, and we have a situation where now ownership, which is from Portsline's words, hands off, now has to get involved. And if you're a president like John Davidson, that fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
They trust you, and you blew this up in their face. Now, my question here is, okay, if you're a player, and put yourself in a player situation, you're a younger player or you're a veteran on their way out, right? And Mike Babcock does this to you. Why do you not feel comfortable running it up the chain within the Blue Jackets organization? Forget the PA. I would say that, knowing that Jarmo's got 2 years left, and John Davidson's got 2 years left, and Mike Babcock's got 2 years.
It's like complaining to HR.
Well, if you go and you run this up the chain, all of those guys, all of their success hinges on each other. Their success hinges on this plan working. So why would they help you? Why would they escalate it? What behooves them to do something that doesn't serve them? And that is why Paul Bissonnette was the guy who was the escape valve on this one.
And by the way, like Ken Hitchcock, Dave King, Rick Nash, this team seemed hell-bent on only asking people who they had to stick their head out their office. Hey!
Yeah.
Is Babcock a good guy? Like, all they had to do...
Call Shanny.
Yeah, well, if you're only going to ask people who are in your phone, you know who they could have called? This would have been a really easy phone call. Darren Ferris.
Oh, yeah.
Darren Ferris represents Josh Anderson, who used to be on the Columbus Blue Jackets.
And they don't like Darren Ferris.
The list is short, Adam. But Darren Ferris also represents Mitch Marner. Yeah. I know you got the guy's number. So if you were looking for a counter opinion, it wouldn't have been hard to find it, and they didn't bother looking for it. There will not be many situations where I'm like, you know what, you should call Darren Ferris. But this is one of them.
Jarmo and JD have to go. But not just for this reason, guys. I want you to look at the position they've put Boone Jenner in.
Oh!
So just from the CJ Show comment section this morning, from @JBCCat, I think Boone Jenner failed this team. From Sub-Zero9113, my question is, what about Boone Jenner? He made statements basically signing off on Babcock despite something being wrong. If other players came forward, should they be worried about this guy wearing the C leading them? Now, I think that is incredibly unfair to Boone Jenner. And I think the reason that it's incredibly unfair to Boone Jenner is all of these meetings didn't happen on a day. They happened in isolation all summer. Boone Jenner had his meeting and then just went off. He doesn't know what all 25, 30, 35, 45 guys that are coming to camp, how their meeting's going to go. And he's not going to ask them all. Why would he? He would assume the best. Now, what I think is super shitty by Columbus management here is they let him attach his name to that press release instead of keeping him out of the fire. They did not protect their player. And now his name is associated with Mike's name. And there's a small minority of people who are like, that's a bad captain.
And people shouldn't be attacking him. I think there's an element of, the hashtag is going around. Biz was right. But the day that podcast clip came out, and I was trying to find it on my phone, I couldn't. Ryan Whitney sent a tweet that was, I'm pretty sure it was Ryan Whitney. It could have been Biz. That was basically like, listen, you're about to hear from players and they're going to deny it and don't listen to it. They're between a rock and a hard place. It's just it's just bullshit.
Now,
and then it came out like an hour or two later. Well, what it means is the team is going to go to these players, the sacrificial lamb and Johnny Gaudreau, who was at NHL Media Day the next day. Poor guy. And then Boone Jenner, who unfortunately Biz named by name, right? I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, you can only speak to your personal experience. And again, it goes back to they asked the best players on the team. How about fourth line left winger?
Jesse might have it.
Is this what you want? From Ryan Whitney on the 12th, when players from Columbus make a statement that the characterizations of Babcock from Biz and myself are false, just know that's bullshit. I feel bad putting the players in a tough spot, but Babcock is a complete weasel and shouldn't be coaching in the NHL is what
I think that's
tweeted.
the tweet. Yeah, I think that's it. And that was before the Boone Jenner statement came out.
And I think it's hilarious that they put out a statement with Boone Jenner and Mike Babcock on it, and neither of the true managerial leaders, because this is not a player issue, this is a management issue. The problem is not with the players, the problem's with management. And neither of the two senior managers attached their name to it. They let their captain go out and take all this shit, and none of them said, you know what, we probably should shield him from that. Neither of them. They both got to go, guys. And Ian Mendez wrote a really great article in The Athletic. He said, it's about time we start looking at who's giving out second chances. And I just want to read this part. Kekalainen said in the press conference, Ian clearly watched it as well, that he consulted his, quote, big network before hiring Babcock. Maybe it's time to scrutinize those networks and relationships that exist in the upper reaches of the NHL. Babcock and Peters might be bad apples, but we need to start examining the trees and the roots that helped bear that fruit. Of course, we should always consider second chances in the NHL. But for now, it sure seems like we start scrutinizing those who are in charge of gatekeeping those opportunities. And that could not be better put.
Ian's pretty good at this, eh?
I just think it's crazy that John Davidson and Jarmo Kekalainen, John Davidson is getting a pass more than Jarmo is.
Way more.
They allowed those guys, Mike had to speak, but the fact that Jarmo and John allowed Boone to come out and say that and put him in the line of fire, undermining his captaincy, at least with the fans, probably not with the players, absolute bullshit and poor leadership. No leadership.
I'm also skeptical that Jenner and Gaudreau had any idea what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
Well, how would they know?
Camp had not begun.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't even know if they were in the States.
This is what I'm saying, is that these meetings happened all over the summer.
We're hearing some of this was end of August, some mid-August.
Mid-July.
He's been around for a while, and he's been doing this, you know?
This did not happen at a team event.
No, and the Boone Jenner statement, I believe, he mentioned his upcoming wedding. Well, his wedding was in August, so if it was upcoming, did the
early August, late
happen
July?
In July? And you know what I mean?
Yeah, he said, while meeting with Babs, he asked me about my family and where I'm from, my upcoming wedding and hockey-related stuff. He then asked if I had pictures of my family, and I was happy to share some with him. He showed me pictures of his family. I thought it was a great first meeting and a good way for us to start building a relationship. To have this blown out of promotion is truly disappointing. He's first meeting. Babcock was hired on July 1st officially, even though we knew this was happening
in April.
April, and they waited till July 1st. So this could have been anywhere from July to whenever the wedding happened. This was a while ago.
And if you're one of the younger guys on the team, especially a rookie, I don't know, do you know Boone Jenner?
Probably not.
You might have his number.
No.
You might not have even met him in person yet.
The meetings with Babcock seem isolated. It wasn't like everybody was there. Exactly.
On purpose. This is what this person does. He isolates you. And what happened was with this young player that Elliot Friedman talked about was that the meeting was not, this was not said beforehand. So evidently the way it went was that this player was brought in, and then Babs looked at his phone for several minutes.
Yeah,
this is the point, guys.
Really straight. Yeah. By the way, they teach you that real early on when you're going out into the field and doing interviews. Never let go of your microphone.
Ever.
Never let go of your phone.
Adam, you're talking about Jarmo and Davidson having their heads roll.
I've got the statement if you want it, if you're talking about the recent one.
Yeah, the one that came out 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So statement from the Columbus Blue Jackets ownership group as of 30 minutes from when we're actually recording this. They said the Columbus Blue Jackets ownership group, led by majority owner and Governor John P. McConnell, issued the following statement today. Our ownership group is deeply frustrated and disappointed by the events of the past week. We have been in contact with John Davidson, Jarmo Kekalainen, and our management team throughout this process, and we and were in full agreement with Babcock stepping down and Pascal Vincent leading our team as head coach. We had candid conversations with our leadership after last season about our goals and expectations for growth and progress on the ice in 23-24. Those expectations are still in place and can still be achieved, so we do not anticipate further changes to our hockey leadership team at this time.
They had to release this. Yeah.
Additional disruptions would be detrimental to our players and coaches as they prepare for the opening of training camp in 2 days. We will continue to have regular communications with our hockey leadership and are looking forward to an exciting season. So your answer on if they will be let go is no.
And it's the same thing I told you 10, 20 minutes ago. The reason they won't be let go, the real reason, is they're already paying 2 coaches. They don't want to have to pay 2 GMs and 2 presidents as well. Those are guaranteed contracts. If they fire you just because you made a bad hire, that's not with cause.
Well, and who the hell are they going to get?
Yeah.
Who are they going to get?
Well, exactly. But this is the thing, right? This leadership group already led to this. Now, they've been saved from themselves, and they probably got a better coach out of it, because frankly, Babcock he was extraordinarily mediocre when you look back at some of the stuff, especially the last few years in Toronto. There was some stuff that he did at the beginning that was good.
Yep.
Not knowing what was going on behind the scenes.
Yep.
And then there was some stuff towards the end where, he's countermanding the general manager and not playing the types of games he wants to play, and also just mediocre records and demoralized team and all the reasons the way you wouldn't want this guy.
Steve,
Yes.
how many times did the Leafs reach the second round under Mike Babcock?
I think the answer was 0.
Now,
0.
the other thing I want to say is, and these are mostly bots, but I do want to spotlight it for a second.
You're reading bot comments?
Not bots, but you know what I mean. Like it goes back to the woke conversation we were having earlier. It's hilarious that people are like, well, this he got fired for this. He's gone, the NHL's gone woke. Are we okay with that?
Oh.
And I just think it's funny that you're asking a podcast known for its wokeness, fucking spitting chicklets.
I know.
Like,
Fucking, hey, did you listen to the...
Barstool's known for its wokeness.
Did you listen to the episode where they had Bernie Sanders on?
Yeah. Did they?
No.
No, okay, I don't know.
Was it
I don't know.
Of course.
I don't know. Fucking Rogan had him on.
Oh, that's true.
So listen, all I'm saying is, if Biz and Wit are too woke for you, I mean, I don't know what's for you, man. And the thing is that I think a lot of people wrote off this story because of Biz and Wit and their association with Barstool being a Barstool podcast.
And the statement from Columbus.
Columbus.
Some people just took it at face value.
They're like, nom, that was delicious. Thank you, Columbus, for that statement. I find it very funny that, the thing is that, like, listen, I get people don't have to like, there's people who don't like people. I get it.
No one's asking you to.
But
one is asking
you'd be
you
pretty hard pressed to find 2 guys as connected to the current NHL players as those 2.
I don't know if there's anyone.
And whenever you're navigating a situation like this in the future, just because it comes from a source that you don't traditionally agree with doesn't mean you write it off. I think every situation you have to weigh on balance. What's at stake? Who has more to lose? What are their motivations? The Blue Jackets had a ton to lose here, so they doubled down. Biz also had a lot to lose. So, he's got that big contract with TNT. Always would have had chicklets, but if he was wrong about this, his credibility takes an enormous hit. So if he wasn't sure,
he would have looked stupid.
He probably wouldn't have gone live with it.
Yeah. He would have looked real stupid.
But he knew that. He's not fucking stupid. And I think I think at the end of the day, I think that, listen, if the Toronto Sun and Steve Simmons, who I sometimes laugh at, although he was a very nice guy in person, I still think his opinions are fucking crazy sometimes. But if he was the guy that came out with this story, then you'd still have to consider it. You'd still have to consider, okay, I don't like what you have to say most of the time, but I'm still going to look at this.
But with him, you can reference stories he got wrong.
And made up.
Well, with the hot dog thing.
Yeah.
Or exaggerated or whatever. Like, this is a
guy
who has a ton of players on.
Their lane is players.
That is their lane.
They tweeted it.
And they solidified that. They solidified that.
It's a little tough because, like, you also don't blame people who are not a fan of the show for being a little skeptical,
I don't fault skepticism ever. I think skepticism is healthy. You need that.
Yeah.
But to write it off just based on the source, especially a source who's that well connected to the players, I think was premature.
The skepticism, it's important you bring that up. Skepticism is important, and that's what I was saying with the Blue Jackets statement. Like, you're just going to take that at face value. Oh, well, it's done.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that, like, when I was like, this statement, like, people took that at face value. I think it applies to both sides, right?
Yeah.
And
yes,
when you see, because I like the first time I saw that was on TikTok. You know, like I just saw the TikTok of the Spit and Chicklets video that came out. That's where I first saw it, just on my For You page. And I was like, what is this thing on Babs? And then you go to Twitter and you're like, oh, this is a thing that's blowing up. You know, it wasn't just a thing that came across my For You page, but like, I understand the skepticism on both sides. Like, you shouldn't take either at face value is kind of what I'm just trying to say.
Right. And that's what the NHLPA is for.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They
like, let's all do our actual due diligence.
Let's do our jobs.
Media literacy.
Davidson and Kekalainen didn't do. You know, let's all do our actual due diligence when we're coming to conclusions on these things.
And I'm not.
You could have contacted Ron Hainsey.
Who?
If the Blue Jackets, you could have as well. But they could have called. He might be on the website. I don't know.
Did Brendan Manel text you anything about players?
He was never under Babs.
But
He was never under Babs.
Hainsey played for the Blue Jackets too, didn't he?
He played for the Blue Jackets, so they would have his number, and it was probably under Kekalainen because he's been there forever. And he played under Babcock. What? And he's with the PA. You couldn't ask a more perfect candidate for his opinion. You couldn't. And they didn't. I assume they didn't. Sure doesn't seem like they did.
They didn't do much.
No, they didn't.
Here's what I would.
He went to like the last 5 people he texted. He's like, all right, so I texted Ken Hitchcock this morning. Kinger, I texted him last week. I'll just message these guys. And then when Babcock was like, me and Hitchcock live near each other, I was like, so what? You guys are buddies. Of course he's gonna give him a thumbs up.
I have it. It's anyone in an NHL front office who is wondering how to do their job. I got it for you. If you need to do your due diligence, contact someone who you don't have a nickname for. If you're only contacting people you have a nickname for, you're not contacting enough people. Oh my God. How are you in your 50s and 60s? Get a brain. Seriously.
I'm not a journalist, so we can't blow up the story, but I really hope somebody does the deep dive on what happened at the University of Saskatchewan.
Oh, somebody's on that, I'm sure.
There's a treasure trove of things about Mike Babcock's tenure.
I'm sure it's coming. No, that's the problem with not having an NHL market there, right? Like, who do you contact? Like, is there a beat reporter for the University of Saskatchewan? Like, you'd have to, oh shit, you know who's on it? Guaranteed I know who's on it. Katie Strang.
Oh, I hope so.
She's riding in a battle with a battle axe now.
On a horse.
On a horse, a flaming horse. Like John Marston, Red Dead, Undead Nightmare. Oh, 100%. 100%. I give it a month.
That'd be good.
Maybe 2.
That'd be good.
Yeah. Christmas reading.
Here's my other thing. And I wanted to ask you guys about this because it occurred to me that at the GM meetings at the start of the year, a week and a half ago, pre-Babcock.
Yeah.
Pre-Cock.
We'll work on it.
Okay. That we got a closed door conversation in front of all the coaches and GMs from Stan Bowman and from Joel Quenneville. Now, the NHL seemed to be, and we don't know, we haven't heard anything from this. I actually don't even know what was said at those meetings, to be honest. Like, it's been surprising that how quiet that has been. There's not really been a story on what happened there, and there should be. Really surprised that nothing from that leaked out. But it seemed as though, at least from the outside, that the NHL had those guys there as a part of the steps that they would have to take to get reinstated and work again. This is Bowman and Quenneville, who were banned after what happened with the Kyle Beach situation, a situation that Rick West had busted open. And I'm thinking now, if they were going to try to reinstate those guys before the start of this year, and by the way, it's been I think 2 years for Bowman and 18 months for Quenneville or whatever it was, or however long it's been.
Something like that.
If they were going to try to reinstate those guys before the start of the season, they now cannot do that, because what the NHL must deduce from this is when you have people with a record like that, it opens you up to criticism very quickly.
Oh, dude.
You have to be next to perfect.
And I know I keep bringing it up. The Hockey Canada story is going to break at a moment's notice.
Well, when the London police decide to finish their investigation.
Right. And you know where the NHL has no jurisdiction? The London police.
The law.
The law. So they don't know when this is going to happen. Right? So you're going to go from this Babcock fiasco to reinstating one of or both of Stan Bowman and Joel Quenneville. And then that story's going to break? Like before game one?
Tough fucking look.
No.
Yeah, it's a horrible look.
Yeah.
It's an impossibility. They can't do it.
I would think that those guys are probably delayed at least another year now.
Hopefully forever. What do you mean a year?
Yeah.
Hopefully they're delayed until they never can come back.
Now listen, Jesse, I feel the same, but I just know the NHL.
I'll say it.
I know hockey. It's not just the NHL. Bill Peters is working in Alberta right now.
Yep. I'll say it as many times as I need to. Quenneville was not was not in this position where he needs to be reinstated because of the meeting that we heard about from 2010.
The McConnell, Bowman,
McDonough.
Sorry, McDonough.
Yeah.
Say McConnell. Anyway,
Because
McDonough.
we had McConnell with the
owner.
Blue Jacket.
Yeah.
So they find out about what happened or the accusation at the time. And he was upset because he's like, man, we're going to the Cup final. We've worked really hard for this and everything. And it was, part of the reason the team just decided, we're not going to do anything about it. But the team's lack of action led to a staffer, if I'm not mistaken, also accusing Brad Aldrich of either harassment or assault.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Brad Aldrich left the team,
went to University of Miami, I think.
There was an unconfirmed
letter of recommendation
that he used to go and work at a high school and assault a student. A student who the Blackhawks had to give a payout to, by the way. Right? And when Quenneville was asked about it, he lied about his knowledge of it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. And it was
Is
something.
that true? Who did he lie to?
It was
Who asked him?
He said he lied about the timeline. He's like, I only found out about this this past summer when the story came out, but he was in the meeting.
Man, there were so many details from that I've forgotten. So he lied about it.
Yes.
So he, even after the story busts open, he's still trying to cover it up.
He did at the time. I don't know how he feels about it now. Like maybe I don't know what he said at that meeting, and reporters did try to speak to him, and he wouldn't speak on it. But a lot of people I've seen misconstrue it as, all he said was, I don't want this to interfere with the Stanley Cup final, and there were people above him.
That's inconvenient, but it's secondary.
Yeah,
Joel.
but there were people above him. It ultimately wasn't his call, X and Y and Z. No, it's more than that. It's more than that. And we paid attention to the story, and I will never let you forget that is the full scope of events. It's not just that one meeting.
Okay,
folks.
Man, it's an unbelievable news cycle day, especially when it's September the 18th. Yeah, I remember going into this month, and I go into every September like this. I'm like, I wonder what we'll talk about. Like, I wonder what kind of shit we'll get into, crazy shit.
And this should not be the number one story today. This should not be the number one story in
tomorrow,
hockey.
Does it not?
Was that?
Well, I know what should be
the
number one story, which is the draft that's taking place right now.
Right now.
Oh, yeah.
The PWHL draft is happening right now.
I forgot it was like this time. I was thinking it was like later in the day. So it was the middle of the day.
Yeah.
As we speak. As we speak right now.
Wow.
It is happening. And we're not just learning who's getting drafted where, we're learning team names.
That's right.
Actually?
Yeah.
Today.
Oh, wow. I didn't know they were including that.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
They're not just like, hey, you're getting drafted by Toronto.
Babcock stuff really sucked up all the news.
I know, dude. It's terrible. It's friggin' terrible. I'm sure everyone's tearing their hair out at the CBC building.
The way it's going to work, and I love this. is that they're doing a snake draft today. Sorry, it starts at 1:00. It hasn't started yet. Minnesota starts first, Toronto, Boston, New York, Ottawa, Montreal, and then it'll be Montreal, Ottawa, New York, Boston, Toronto, Minnesota.
That turn
for 15 rounds.
I like having the turn.
Love the turn.
That Montreal pick's gonna be fun. Back-to-back.
And it's going to be kind of it's really going to be fun to watch out for. I don't know any of the team names and that sort of thing, but I know that Carell and Liz especially have been looking forward to this. For at least friends of ours have been really looking forward to this for a long time. And Carell's representing 10 of the people that are going to be there.
They're extremely busy. We've talked to them about coverage and everything, but
crazy busy.
They deserve to have this day and have as much fun as possible. And when they're ready to talk about it, which I hope is soon after, they'll have a new Noxie and Cax.
Yeah, and we'll chat more about the team names and everything later on. It's actually okay that we don't know the team names just yet, because I feel like it would be outdated anyway by the time that this show went out, and we'll talk about our reaction to that next episode. As of this recording, it has not started. So after the Babcock stuff, I don't think there are enough reporters working for there to be any other stories, but I did kind of try to dig. And the first thing is the reactions to Connor Bedard are already overreactions, and I'm excited for it. I'm ready. Hat-trick this weekend.
Oh, he is going to score 1 billion goals in this league. 1 billion.
Yeah.
Exactly 1 billion. He's going to shatter Gretzky's record by millions and millions. No, I know that's overstating it, but leading up to him getting drafted, I talked about the potential for him to be better than Connor McDavid. And I still think it's there. This kid is a monster, an absolute monster. Will he get there? I don't know. It's a high bar. It's a really high bar. But we're talking about a kid who could at least rival, if not be better than Matthews at this stage.
I wanted to ask if you're John David. It's John Davidson, who's also the general manager of Chicago, right?
Kyle
Davidson.
Yeah.
Jesus,
I know
the names. I've never been good at names. Kyle Davidson. If you're him, are you a slightly concerned? I'd feel man, that's my queen. That's my best chess piece right there. I don't want him getting injured in the rookie tournament.
Is the queen the best chess piece?
Yeah, that's the best chess.
I don't know
piece.
enough about chess.
Yeah, that's my thing. I don't want.
I was looking at guys like Fantilli and Bedard and even
do you
Nice.
You can't wrap them in bubble wrap.
Yeah, but they need to play in this.
The kid hasn't played hockey since April. You got to get him into some games and tell him to go 70% and not bust a knee. But
I don't
can't
even
wrap
think
him bubble wrap.
Here, I'll just out and say it. It's wretched hockey.
Yeah,
the rookie tournament is always ass hockey.
I'm
it's
disappointed
so bad.
in anybody who watched it.
Then you're disappointed in me.
Yeah,
I think you're disappointed in them.
I'm disappointed in you guys. Check out the amazing highlights, but to sit there and watch that hockey,
you can't put too much stock in it. You can only put too much stock in the players who are very obviously not able to hang, and the players who are very obviously above playing in that tournament, like Fantilli and Bedard. That was a laser beam of a shot. That is, goalies playing in this tournament do not have a fucking chance of stopping a point blank Connor Bedard shot. They don't.
No, you have an everyday NHLer because he's ready for that.
He's been that for at least a year.
Yeah, it's unfair.
It's complete. Yeah, he doesn't need to play another one.
No,
that's enough.
No,
I've seen enough.
Over under on 30 goals.
Stomping on the over.
Really?
With both feet. Absolutely.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Adam, what are you?
How many assists?
No, what's
3.
30 goals? Are you over under?
I think he's going to get a bunch of assists that are shots that go off of people's foot and ass and stick and
rebounded. Yeah. He's going to play with some not bad players in Chicago.
Taylor Hall?
Yeah, not bad. You know what? Yeah. Yeah, over 30 goals.
I think Nick Foligno might surprise with some banging goals.
Yeah,
just in front off a rebound. I think the Blackhawks are going to score some goals.
Almost like Ilya Kovalchuk, Dave Clarkson. Remember when they played together?
Oh yeah, and I think of how much easier life is for a guy like Kevin Kurchinski, who is a top 10 pick on a rebuilding team and gets to just slide right in there. Just slide right in there.
Pretty sweet.
Like if he ends up in the lineup.
By the way, a lot of people listening to this don't even know who that is.
Exactly. It's
like,
a top 10 pick.
That's
Right.
How great is that?
I'm
to
pretty
not have
sure.
that pressure.
I'm pretty sure he's the 7th overall pick. The pick that Chicago got from Ottawa in the DeBrincat trade.
Now, what if there's a Joe Thornton, Sergei Samsonov situation where Sergei Samsonov,
and Kurchinski's better.
Kurchinski's better than Bedard? What? Because remember, Samsonov
It's not
came out
gonna
and won Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
And Joe Thornton, first overall pick,
I do remember
had
this.
20 points, 25 points, maybe.
Oh, it was even less. He was terrible. No, I think it was 7. I think he had 7 points in over 50 games.
So I know it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
So very not going to
But
happen.
if it did, can you imagine their fallout from that?
No, I think it would just be
It'd be mind-bending.
Blackhawks fans being so happy.
Great memory, Steve. Joe Thornton had 7 points
Wow,
in his rookie season.
Steve.
Yeah.
3 goals, 4 assists.
Crosby's rookie season, he had 39 goals. So we got to raise it. Is Bedard's over-under is 40. Does he crack 40?
He was playing with Lemieux, though.
Yeah, and Ovi in his rookie season had 52. But it's a little unfair.
Yeah.
What
because
the fuck,
Ovi
Ovi?
was a year
Both
older.
of those teams were
Outrageous.
abominations, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Crosby missed the playoffs. Same with the Caps missed the playoffs too, right?
Like by a mile.
Yeah.
Look at that 52 fucking goals. What
I know.
And
What a
54
lunatic.
assists, 106 points for
Love
Ovi
that.
in the 05-06 season. It's a little different
Oh.
because, like I said, he had that extra year in Moscow.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he was technically a year older, so
He should have been in the NHL a year earlier than he was.
Yeah,
but
but
because
still.
of the stupid lockout.
first year you're doing 52 goals, 54 assists. So Bedard, let's set it at 40 now. Crosby at 39. Can Bedard outdo that with one more and get 40?
I'm surprised. Like, there should have been more players lining up to be like, I'm going to hitch myself to that wagon.
Go sign in Chicago.
Yeah,
Chicago?
I'm going to score at least 15 more points than I ought to because I'm with the Blackhawks and I'm riding the Connor Bedard trade. Like, why wasn't there some like league minimum fourth liner in McDavid's rookie year who's like, I would like to sign for $800,000 times 8. It could have worked. It could have been brilliant.
Jarmo Kekalainen is speaking to the media right now.
Oh, is he?
Can I get your over
Can
under?
this story fucking
39 and a half?
Huh?
39 and a half on the
39 and a half?
Bedard. Like you just went off on a Crosby tangent.
I know because I love him and his custom made pants.
Yes. I'm going to say yes, Jesse. I'm going over.
Over 39.
I'm an optimist. I'm a Bedard
He's
optimist.
going to score 40.
It's really not that great of a team. I'm gonna pick over because it's more fun to pick over. Oh, look at that decor, Maroon. Oh my God. Okay, under. Holy shit.
Seth
Who will
Jones.
get them the puck?
Nikita
Oh my
Zaitsev,
God.
Connor Murphy. Tenorti. Philippe Roos. Is that how you say that? I don't know, Philippe.
Don't
Wyatt Kaiser. Isaac Phillips.
run a 5-forward power play.
Oh, the goalie tandem.
Run a 5-forward power play.
Peter Mrazek and Arvid Soderblom.
Listen.
By the way, they're definitely claiming someone off waivers. 100%.
Don't be bad on Soderblom. He might be the man.
You know nothing about
I know nothing about Soderblom.
about Arvid Soderblom.
Yeah? What's your favorite thing about Arvid Soderblom? I'll tell you my favorite thing.
His favorite team, the Blackhawks, the one that employs him.
Corey Perry. I forgot.
He's
Corey
going to
Perry,
score.
Nick Foligno.
He's going to score 20 goals.
Those two are going to score so many power play goals.
Yeah.
Like their second line center is Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, you could see Seth Jones or Nikita Zaitsev quarterbacking a power play with Connor Bedard.
And like they're perfectly set up to just trade everyone at the deadline too.
We are also forgetting our hero,
Colin Blackwell.
Mackenzie Entwistle.
Oh,
Hey!
The Pittsburgh Penguins.
That's right.
That's right.
I do want to just quickly mention that Jarmo Kekalainen says he apologized to the team this morning for hiring Babs. Jarmo said
There you go.
he didn't believe Mike had bad intentions,
So what do you?
but some of our players weren't comfortable with his methods, and that was concerning. John Davidson said they got it wrong and it's on them. Promises they're going to learn from it and move forward. They deserve the criticism.
I would love to be a fly on the wall in that Blue Jackets locker room You know who we haven't heard from,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love to hear from? Eric Goodbranson. Eric Goodbranson, like he takes a lot of shit for, well, I mean, his career hasn't gone the way a third overall pick's career is expected to go.
Yep.
But he's tough as nails. I do believe he has exemplary leadership qualities.
Agreed. Never heard anything to the opposite.
And he very famously told Doug Gilmour where to go in Kingston. Like that's a story that went around when Gilmour was in charge in Kingston. Goodbranson stood up with grown man energy and told a Hockey Hall of Famer where to go. I would love to know what he has to say about all this behind closed doors.
Yep.
Who knows? I assume he'll end up speaking publicly.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm a reporter and I cover the Blue Jackets, the day camp opens up, I'm making a beeline to that guy. But I would love to know what he says in private.
Same. This is interesting.
Mm.
This is very interesting. The other thing I did, CJ was making fun of me for this, but he was talking about in our CJ group chat. He's like, well, like, it's the rookie tournament's on, but you know. And I was like, you know what? I am going to watch the rookie tournament, or I'm going to watch a game. So I watched the Leafs and Red Wings yesterday a little bit, and I didn't learn anything. Like, no. I mean, you see guys that you'll never see regularly. Obviously, you maybe see some who's better than who and whatever. But again, that can come down to first off, it's garbage hockey. It's terrible.
It's just wretched.
And sometimes you can see players with great skill or whatever, but you don't learn a whole heck of a lot. 1,300 people were watching. Me and 1,300 others.
The beginning of the Blue Jackets game, where the Leafs got murdered, was I believe 3,000 at one point on the Leafs channel.
That's how hardcore people are.
Yeah.
With this.
You don't like the NFL or Blue Jays? Or
I was watching the Bills game. I was watching the Bills Raiders game a little bit, and
because it was on at the same time. I was like, how could anybody
not be
turn
watching
that
that
on?
Yeah.
And the Blue Jays. I watched the Blue Jays almost get jobbed. Do you see that friggin' strikeout call on Schneider in the 10th?
All weekend, I didn't like the strike zones. It was awful.
They're just, please give a shit about your job.
I'll be honest.
Yeah. Just care about your job.
The reason I switched was DAZN kept buffering. Like, it just could not load. Could not handle the amount of people.
I saw
watching.
some people complaining about DAZN this year.
Driving me crazy.
Is it too much? Yeah.
No, I love DAZN normally. Like, I actually really do. It's one of the better streaming apps, but like,
is that like DAZN?
Yeah, that's the same.
Oh, okay.
It was better when they had EPL. Way better, but it was almost impossible to watch, so I had to switch to like another stream online, and then I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna watch the Leafs game. What I did notice, though, we talked a little bit about like when you appear in that rookie tournament game, do you get a jersey, right? And I realized the Leafs don't play in their Leafs jerseys.
No,
they play in practice.
The
jerseys.
other teams did. The Stars did.
Stars did. Blue Jackets did. Pete Blackburn, I think, was giving the Blue Jackets shit because they had the dark blue helmets but the white jerseys, and he said it looked like shit. And then the Red Wings were playing in their Red Wing jersey, and I was like, the Leafs do not allow that.
It's like intentional. Like, no, you have to look a little wrong.
You have to earn it.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting.
I don't hate it.
So anyway, that's kind of like that was all the fucking hockey this weekend, right? But we'll have so much more, and I'm glad. To be honest with you, I'm kind of glad the saga's over because there's better shit to talk about. There's the PWHL draft. There's training camps opening this week. This is an exciting time for hockey.
My sweet summer child, the saga's not over.
You don't think so?
No, Yarmo just spoke in the middle of her show. There's no way.
All right, let's do the press conference.
The Presser. SDP. The Steve Dangle Press Conference.
All right, head over to sdpn.ca and hit the link that says join us on Discord to find us on Discord, where you can ask press conference questions.
Yeah.
Like this one from Stinkface McPoop Lightning. Stinkface writes on Discord. Here's a list of the average drinks per game for each fan base.
Oh,
wow.
Here, let me...
in the NHL?
Yeah.
How did they get this?
Let me
Where
get
is
this up
that?
on the screen. So,
Amount of drinks sold per person there, I guess.
That's very cool.
let's see what
Uh-oh.
Just give me one second.
Damn, dude.
Maddie. So there we go. So I guess
I drove up the
somebody
Leafs
did the survey.
Oh, shit. Let's go.
We got the Leafs at the very top. Let's go, Canada. I hope those are some good Molsons. Drinking 3.9 drinks per game. Average spend on alcohol is $58.50, which also leads the list.
Oh, it's by spend?
No.
I see.
Okay. So the list is by average drinks per game, and next to it is also the average spend on alcohol.
I'm such a fucking grandpa. Sorry.
You're like a toddler in fucking preschool. Like, I get it. That's how it works.
I get it.
Okay.
My favorite part about that is Jesse explains it, and then Steve's like, wait a second, is it... It measures two things. Jesse outlined them both.
Okay.
I get a lot of TikToks about ADHD in my algorithm, and I
Can't
have
imagine why, my friend.
all of the symptoms.
So I'll read the top 10 here, and then we'll read the bottom and tell me your surprises, anything like that. So for everybody listening, the Toronto Maple Leafs sit at number 1, 3.9 average drinks per game, which cost them $58.50 per game. Chicago second, 3.8. 36.10, so cheaper, a lot cheaper only 0.1 less beers. Tampa's 3.7, and it cost them $44.40. Colorado's 3.7, cost them $44.40 as well.
Okay.
Arizona is 3.6 drinks per game. It cost them on average $46.80.
That's exactly what they wanted, right? They wanted students who are going to show up to games and get gunned.
The rest of the top 10 is Edmonton, Pittsburgh, Ottawa, St. Louis, Florida. And then at the bottom of the list, we got, going from the very last upwards, New York is at the very bottom. They only have 1.8 drinks per game.
That is absolutely shocking.
You know why, though?
Why?
Because they're smart.
Why are they smart? Oh, they
go to a bar beforehand.
Oh,
Don't buy the drinks in MSG. This is what... So it's interesting. When you go to MSG, there's like good bars around there that are relatively cheap. By New York standards, right? Like New York is not a cheap place to live. Neither is Toronto. Toronto has a few, but not really.
Where are you going?
Real Sports.
Real Sports, which is MLSE owned.
So Real Sports is a
MLSE
sports
owned.
bar.
Yeah.
It's a sports bar. You got 11. That's a restaurant.
MLSE owned.
Yeah. You got Jack Astor's.
Hoops.
Taco Del Mar.
Hoops is a bar.
Taco Del Mar.
Yeah.
Right there.
Panago.
Panago's there.
And they're licensed, I'm pretty sure.
And then Kelly's Landing, just up on Front Street.
Yeah.
And then,
which is a restaurant.
And then like the
Eastside Mario's.
Loose Moose and Jack Astor's and that whole strip there. But yeah, like it's not, there's not like a bunch of great bars around there. No offense to Hoops. It's all right. Hoops is good.
We just have a very different culture. Like, have you ever been to a footy match in the UK?
Well, it's a family destination.
Well, there's that. But also, like, if you want to go drink in a bar before a game, if you order food, they'll look at you fucking sideways. And, like, they pack you in.
We have potato chips for you. That's all we have.
They pack you into this place with no TVs. They pack you in like sardines, and you just drink like a fish. And I've never seen anyone walk in or out of the bathroom. And I don't know if you wear pull-ups to the game or what. And then you walk down the street and you go to the game.
I got a problem with Scotiabank Arena. They don't let you show up blackout. They won't let you in. Like, let me show up
what's
blackout.
your problem?
Well, I can tell you in the NFL, they don't mind that.
Yeah. Let me tailgate.
Did you see the Jets and Giants, or no, Jets and Cowboys fans duking it out this weekend?
Is that the dude who he was in cuffs and he headbutted someone?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Dude, I was watching that and like people are gonna be like, oh, legend. I'm like, that dude's life has changed forever.
Oh, yeah.
For an incident that I doubt he'll remember.
Yeah.
Dude, if you assault someone while already in handcuffs, I'm fairly certain your life is about to change. That's not drunk tank behavior. That's I can't go to work until I'm out of prison behavior.
Well, you can be in enormous trouble. And
Oh,
trust
fuck
me,
yeah.
you don't want to be a part of the legal system in any way. If you can stay out of court, that's what you want to do.
No.
That's usually the rule, right?
No, anytime I've ever seen a fight at a sporting event, I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? What led to this? What made you so unhappy at a sporting event that happened?
Do you want the other bottom teams? We only got to New York and then we started talking.
Yeah, my bad.
Sorry.
So the bottom of the list is New York, Washington, New Jersey, New York Islanders.
Dude, the
and
Metro
Seattle.
Division hates drinking.
Yeah, so it looks like it's a thing about the general New York area. New York, New Jersey, and New York are all three of the bottom four teams.
And it's so surprising because you know what they have that we don't? Like a transit system.
Oh, the best.
Like a subway that gets you places.
Yeah, you don't
We don't
drive.
have that.
No.
You don't drive to the game in New York.
No.
You don't drive anywhere.
No.
in New York.
No.
It's actually funny. I'm watching Seinfeld because we sometimes just, Natalie and I just pick shows and we just watch them from the start.
Nice.
And I'm watching Seinfeld from like first episode. and they're talking about parking all the time in it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, it's amazing how much New York's changed because everybody would have had a car back then and they were looking for street parking. 30 years later, no one has a fucking
What's
car.
the point?
What percentage of Seinfeld is ruined by having a cell phone?
All of it. All of it.
Adam, as somebody's watching
Oh yeah,
the show.
I mean, like there's one. No, it's actually pretty small. There's like funny little jokes, like they're in a hotel room and Kramer goes to the bathroom. He's like, "Hey, there's a phone in here," like stuff like that.
no, but like the majority of the plot lines
still
you can't-
work.
No,
I think so. A lot of it
if they
still
just
works.
had phones.
Oh, if they had cell phones? Yeah, I think that. Well, okay.
The episode where they lose their car?
Yeah, no, that wouldn't. You're right. A lot of them would disappear, but they're funny. It's still funny.
Yeah, nobody's saying it's not. It's one of the best
Sorry, I
TV
thought that
shows
was
of all
the thing.
time.
Yeah,
no,
but you're absolutely right. Actually, now that I think of it, like even some of his bits, like he does that little stand up before the
Yeah.
kicks in. A lot of that just doesn't exist anymore.
No.
Mhm.
Like he's talking about people showing you his kids' pictures in their wallet, which
Right.
is something you people do. Steve always shows us pictures of Leo on his phone.
I love it.
We actually demand pictures of Leo, and
You should.
and it's not weird at all. Not weird.
No, here. Look through this for several minutes.
No, what I wanted to ask you guys very quickly is what was New Jersey on that list, Jesse? Can we bring that
It's
up
like
again?
third last.
Third last, yeah.
Okay, so I just looked up bars around the Prudential Center, and I was just wondering if Ken Danico could tell us which are his favorite bars.
Oh,
around
gladly,
the
Adam.
Prudential Center here.
All right, so we got Bar Vanquish. It's where you go to the bar and vanquish it one drink at a time. Then you're going to need Red's Beer Garden. Beer Garden is spelled B-I-E-R because it's fancy and European like that. Just like Jesper Bratt, who just signed a contract with your New Jersey Devils. Brought to you by the New Jersey State Lottery. Remember, anything can happen in Jersey. Then we got Nico Kitchen and Bar. That's when you're running late to the game and you need some pub and a little bit of grub. And then, of course, my personal favorite, McGovern's Tavern. It starts with MC. That's how you know it's the place to be. Adam?
Thank you for that. Sorry, Jesse, to interrupt your segment. Is that it?
That's it.
Is that what we're going with? All right. Hey, we'll be back Wednesday with more stuff. Are you ready for more stuff? You guys good with stuff?
Oh yeah,
Stuff works for me. All right. Oh, yeah.
I tried to shimmy over to Adam. It didn't work. There we go.
All right. Shimmy on over, big guy. Yeah.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.